In a rare phone call with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, Israel's President Isaac Herzog denounced the recent acts of settler violence in the West Bank. This comes after a week of violence by Jewish settlers in West Bank Palestinian towns as retaliation for the deadly terror attack in Eli, which killed 4, perpetrated by a Palestinian terrorist. In a central West Bank Palestinian town, about 200 settlers, some armed, set fire to houses, fields and cars. Clashes between the IDF and Palestinians left a local resident dead. The violence didn't stop there. Jewish rioters set fire to a school in the West Bank village Urif, and several Palestinians were wounded when a large mob of armed settlers stormed Safar. Now, Israel has announced it will advance its plans to expand 5,700 settlement homes in response to the Eli terror attack. The US has said it is deeply troubled by the expansion. Is Israel heading towards a third intifada? And can the spiraling violence be stopped?
So let's get to it, gentlemen. Is there any way to stop the spiraling violence in the West Bank? As always, we'll begin with our quick fire round, 30 seconds each to lay out your initial stance on the matter, and we'll pick up the conversation from there. Dror Yemini, please take the lead.
Yes, we have a problem. We have among us, and we have to admit it, we have hooligans. It's not all the settlers. We have to remember that. We are speaking about, I don't know how many, if it's 5% or 10% from the settlers, but we have the Palestinian terror. But in between, we have to remember that what the hooligans are doing is against Judaism, is anti-Zionist, and they're actually serving the enemies of Israel. I mean, they are the best thing which is happening to the BDS and to the anti-Israeli camp. We should stop them.
Mr. Moshe Feiglin, your thoughts?
The solution is very simple. We should understand that the Oslo process is gone. It did not have any chance to begin with. Israel has to take over again at least the northern part of Samaria and declare full sovereignty on these areas. There should be a final solution, which means the land of Israel belongs to the people of Israel.
Last but not least, Mossi Raz, your thoughts?
I'm not sure that we can stop all the violence, but of course we have to reduce the violence, and we can do that. First, we have to try to reach an agreement. Even if we cannot do that, we have to reduce the violence on the ground. We see settlers, hundreds of them, attacking villages. Very few of them have been arrested, and actually they understand from the government that the government support it.
Okay, on that note, gentlemen, let's please feel free to interact, to engage in a conversation. Mr. Feiglin, I do want to begin with you. The defense establishment is defining it as such. Is settler violence national terrorism?
No, this is nonsense, and it's against any moral clarity that can be. There is there's a terrorist side here that killing, starting a war, doing if the Arabs in this occasion would have been quiet and peaceful, you won't see any action from the Jewish side. There is the attacker, and there are the people who are trying to defend themselves. Maybe you don't like the way they do it, but there's a good side of the picture and bad side of the picture. The problem is not violent from both sides. The problem is that Israel left a huge question mark above the surface and not doing its job as a ruler of the place, that has to give security to both sides. So the problem is the Israeli government, not the settlers. And the source of the problem is, I'm saying again, we never said after the 6-day war that we just came back to our promised land. We left as territories, West Bank, and so on. Once you leave a question mark, the violent will come along the way. We should erase the question mark above the question who the land belongs to, and that will solve the problem.
Let me tell you something. I'm afraid that the solution that is proposed now by Moshe Feiglin is actually the one-state solution. He wants Israel to take control over the territories. What is the meaning? The meaning is one state. What is the meaning? The meaning is that actually the settlers, and not all the settlers, but mainly the extreme right, the hooligans, the anti-Zionist right, as I call them, I mean, they carry out the solution of the BDS. Both sides, extreme right and extreme left, are actually working for the one-state solution, which is a destruction for both sides. I do hope it's not going to happen, and yes, we have a problem. This government is a kind of a right-wing, and in some parts even extreme right government that is encouraging more and more outposts. What is the meaning? The meaning is one-state solution. No, we do not need to actually to implement the solution of the BDS. We do not need this kind of anti-Zionist solution. I hope it will not happen.
Mr. Raz,
Yeah, I think that, I support two-state solution, but I think the important thing is to support a solution that secure human rights and security to all the Palestinians and the Israelis who live between the Jordan and the sea. And I still think that, yes, I understand that it's not very easy. This is the goal, and we can go there. Meanwhile, in the short run, we should oppose any kind of violence. And I want to say, I've done it by myself. Attacks like we saw in Jenin, with positive purpose to reduce violence, are doing the opposite. Attacks of the settlers are doing the opposite. And decision about building more units in the settlements are doing the opposite. The more settlers we have, not because the settlers are bad people, the more settlers we have more confrontations between Palestinians and settlers, and we have less security, not only for the settlers, to the citizens of Israel, and to the Palestinians who live in the occupied territories. We have heard the Prime Minister Netanyahu actually 2 days ago inciting with a terrible symmetry, with no symmetry. Yeah, he could actually say that people who are doing that in the Palestinian villages are like the people who are protesting in Kaplan. If I am a settler who go to burn a house in a village, I would understand that Netanyahu thinks that it's okay.
Please.
Let me tell you, just something. Yes, okay, you are supporting the two-state solution. Fair enough, okay. But we cannot ignore the fact that the Palestinians, once and again, actually rejected any kind of proposal. Everything they rejected. By the way, they rejected even the Saudi Arabian proposal, and they forced the Arab League to put the right of return in this plan, which, of course, Israel cannot accept. So how can you get this kind of solution?
If I may say, they have been all the good reasons to do so, not to accept any kind of solution, because you, Ben-Dror,
I knew that you are going to like it. I knew that you are going to like the very fact that the Palestinians reject any kind of peace plan. Yeah.
I think that
let's keep it. I suggest that we'll keep it a serious discussion. What I'm saying, Ben-Dror, it's not. Okay, we don't go to the first
gentlemen.
point.
Yeah.
Right? The reason why the war do not end is because what Israel and the way you present it and the way Mossi presented is saying from the very beginning, when we took over those lands by miracles in a 6-day war, our land, our biblical land, when we got back our biblical land in the 6-day war, we rejected it. We said it do not belongs to us. We said it's only a card to achieve some kind of peace. So what do you want from those people that you call Palestinians? There is no Palestinians, by the way. We invented this nation. But once, let me finish, please. Let me finish with, please. When you say on yourself that you're an occupier, that you're a colonialist in someone else's land, that you're a visitor that no one wants in his own home, what do you expect from them if not to start a war? You actually bringing the war upon you, and to you, Mossi, I have to tell you that the fact is exactly the opposite of what you said. On the northern part of the Shomron, where there are almost no settlements, you see now war. Where there is no Jews, like in Gaza when we left, you have much more violent than when you have a lot of Jews and you have peace and quiet.
What violence you have there? You know, the IDF is coming to Jenin, and of course they react. I'm not saying that in order to justify or unjustify what the army is doing. But listen to you, I remember that until 1967, all the Palestinian people, not only the Palestinian people, all the Arab nations thought that all the Middle East is supposed to be Jewish, and we gave them the idea that they exist.
Of course, you're right about that. I did not say that there's no violence before.
Even if you,
but if you check what's happening, when the Jews are leaving, you get much more violence than what you had before.
No,
even if you want to.
The main point. Okay, the main point. I just wanted to answer you, Mr. Feiglin. Look. We are speaking about the populated area. I mean, we are not speaking about an empty land. There are people around there. You can like them, you can dislike them. The point is that you cannot create a one-state solution, and that's actually what. So I'm not saying that we are occupiers.
Did you ever really try?
What do you mean? I mean, did it ever succeed? Yes, they tried it in many places. They tried it in Yugoslavia. They tried it in other places. It doesn't work. Mixed population, hostile population, it's not working under one umbrella. It's not working, not anywhere in the world. Do you think that here it's going to work? Here it's going to work. By the way, that's what the BDS is saying, and that's what Moshe Feiglin is saying.
Gentlemen, let's hold our thoughts right there because we do need to take a very short break, but obviously we have so much more to unpack once we're back. It's quite extraordinary that we begin with current events and a history lesson in a few minutes, and we're back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the summit. Still with us, Dror Yemini, Mossi Raz, Moshe Feiglin. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for staying with us. We're also staying on topic, of course, but before we get back to our conversation, just this evening, a phone call between Israeli Foreign Minister and U.S. Secretary of State with the Israeli minister reassuring his American counterpart that Israel's got it all under control. The American side saying, well, you need to step it up. Let's take a listen to what came out from the State Department earlier.
I will say that we are deeply troubled by the Israeli government's reported decision to advance planning for over 4,000 settlements in the West Bank. We are similarly concerned by reports of changes to Israel's system of settlement administration that expedite the planning and approval of settlements. As has been longstanding policy, the United States opposes such unilateral actions that make a two-state solution more difficult to achieve and are an obstacle to peace. And we call on the government of Israel to fulfill the commitments it made in Aqaba and Sharm el-Sheikh and return to dialogue aimed at de-escalation. And I will say, from the United States standpoint, we do think it's important that we continue to make these statements clear publicly, what our position is, that we continue to raise them privately with Israeli officials, and we will continue to do so. I think our opinions about this are quite clear, and we will continue to make it known.
So let's get to it, gentlemen. Another quick fire round, 30 seconds each. Should the response to terror be settlement expansion? Mossi Raz, please take the lead.
Settlement expansion is not moral, it is not legal, is harming the security, as I mentioned earlier, of settlers, Palestinians, and Israelis. And when you see that as a response, like a punishment, is another very bad manner of the Israeli policy. Because if you support it, say that you support. If it's a punishment, whom do you punish? The soldiers, the settlers, the Israelis, the Palestinians? It's a big mistake.
Dror Yemini, your thoughts?
Yeah, unfortunately, both sides, speaking about right-wing camp and the left-wing camp, they don't have a real solution. I mean, there is an illusion of the two-state solution, which is not going to be realized from one hand, and there is an illusion of the right-wingers that they will build one big Jewish state. It's not going to happen. We need a new vision. We need a new kind of solution. And to build more settlements, it's actually to build the one-state solution. Totally against it. Because I'm Zionist, I'm against it.
Last but not least, Moshe Feiglin, your take?
Well, Mossi Raz and Dror Yemini would not declare the Jewish state to begin with, because in 1948, we were not the majority in the border of 67. Okay? Unfortunately, Ben-Gurion had a better vision than them, because the land of Israel belongs to the Jewish nation and only to the Jewish nation. And we have the same right to build a home in the heart of the land, in the heart of the biblical land, just as in Tel Aviv.
Okay. On that note, gentlemen, let's please feel free to interact. I do want to circle back to the impact or lack thereof in the relationship between Israel and the U.S. On principle, is foreign intervention bolstering or harming a solution of any sort to the conflict? Mossi Raz.
It might help. Israelis and Palestinians cannot solve the problem with themselves. The Israeli army in the occupied territories, and they are occupied. The Israeli law is not applicable there, and of course the Palestinians there have no right. They are not citizens, even, by the way, in East Jerusalem. The Israeli army is not defending Palestinian civilians like it is supposed to do, even if it is one state or two state or occupation or state of Israel. They have to do that, but they are not doing that in the motive, even in the target. And I know that all of us know that we were soldiers by ourselves is only to protect the settlers. This is what the army is doing, and this way is not functioning as the army of these lands, occupy or part of Israel or whatever it is. And if there is no real change in the army, understanding that they have to protect citizens, whoever, I mean, human beings, whoever they are, Palestinians or settlers, then we need international armies to go in.
International armies.
Okay,
yes.
Let me tell you something. The international community is not helping in order to solve the problem, because the international community, once and again, is actually deluding the Palestinians that they are going to receive more and more and more. No, they are not going to receive more and more. We have limits. That's from one hand. And we have to bear in mind that the very moment that there will be a Palestinian state, it's not going to be Singapore. It's going to be something like Yemen or like Somalia. Or to be a proxy of Iran. Yes, we have to admit it. I mean, it's not easy, but the meaning is not more settlements. The meaning is not one-state solution. The meaning is that we do not need more settlements. We need a kind of separation, unilateral separation from one hand, but for the moment, until they will be ready for peace, we need also a kind of military control on the land.
Moshe Feiglin.
Well, I agree with Mossi that we have to finish the occupation. And I also agree with Dror Yemini that the interfere of the international countries is not helping at all.
Okay, so
You
we're
have
all
to
in
have
agreement.
But I definitely don't agree with their solutions. We should understand that the land belongs to the Jews. The Arabs that live there should get all their human rights, but they will not be able to get their civilian rights. And there's a big difference between the two. Also, America, for example, the United States of America, giving all the human rights to its people in Guam, but they cannot vote. Also, England, okay, the United Kingdom give all the human rights to some people in Cyprus that are citizens but cannot vote. There are many solutions, but you have to decide who this land belongs to. You will never have peace and stop violence based on lies. The land of Israel belongs to the Jewish people only, and that is the only truth here, only one.
Well, gentlemen, we are nearing the end of our discussions, and Mr. Raz is talking about the military rule. Dror Yemini talking about the international community undermining the prospects of the two-state solution. Moshe Feiglin discussing the Palestinian terrorism. Bottom line, all of you are pointing fingers at what was dubbed as the most right-wing government in the history of Israel and its lack of policy.
Yeah, the point is that before we had a kind of a center-left coalitions, governments, did it help? No, it did not help. When they were offered, the Palestinians, a Palestinian state by Ehud Olmert, by Bill Clinton, by Ehud Barak, did it help? No, it did not help. So it's not, I mean, I don't like this government, but I cannot blame this government, and that's something that we also have to bear in mind.
Okay, briefly, Mr. Feiglin.
Well, yes, there's no difference between governments from the left, from the center, and the right. They're all coming with one mind idea, never tried to come with a solution based on the truth, a solution that we already used in 1948 and succeeded wonderfully with Israel until 1967.
Yeah.
We should come with the same solution in Judea and Samaria.
Mr. Raz, in the 20 seconds we have left.
I think this government is worse than the others because this government offers more violence, tell the citizens have more guns, more settlements, and the outcome of that is more violence in both sides, more casualties in both sides, and by the way, even in Israel itself, because this is what the government is encouraging, violence.